Just based on what I've seen in Russia, I think the quality here is much better, especially in the enterprise space. Just because you guys do so much work with Europe and the US. So I mean, compared to Russia, it's obviously a step up. Compared to the US, well, I mean, it's tough, right? Because in the US, if you can only win if you're number one or number two, perhaps number three. But otherwise, so you have to be really, really fast. You have to literally start your company, within a few months of your competitor, or, otherwise it's really a kind of a failed effort. So I think that's the challenge both for Indian startups and also, for other startups not in the U.S. is to kind of figure out, be really, really close to where things are happening. And in IT, it's Silicon Valley, undoubtedly. I think it's tough, right? So it's tough because there's a lot of local competition. If you don't know the market, it's going to be difficult to penetrate it. Russia is, if you look on the enterprise side, it's probably, unless you're Microsoft or you're some big multinational with a lot of marketing money, it's probably next to impossible. If you're a consumer startup, it's a little bit easier, but you really kind of have to know the Russian consumer in order to enter that market. So I think if I were to give an advice to an Indian startup trying to look at Russia as a market, I would probably advise them to get a Russian partner, kind of to help them navigate the landscape. The Russian labor market is very, very good in quality, but lacking in quantity. So we currently have, I would probably say, about 300,000 developers. All of them are employed. Their salaries, in Moscow, which is more expensive than other cities, they would probably be, only 30 or 40% less than in California. If you go to the regions, the salaries would obviously drop. And the other challenge that where Russia is entering a demographic hole, where we didn't have a lot of population growth in early 90s and late 80s when the perestroika happened, where people basically stopped having babies because of the uncertainty. So we're just entering that particular, there's this trend of number of applicants into universities, number of graduates is dropping by like 30-40%. So what Russian companies have done is they, like services companies, which is, they need a lot of developers to scale, they would go into Ukraine, Belarus, other Russian-speaking former Soviet Union republics. But some of the companies actually go to China, some of the companies go to Vietnam and acquire companies there, go to Poland, go to Romania. So if you're looking for quantity, Russia is probably not the place. If you're looking for quality, definitely. We have still have a very good mathematical, physics, science education. And those guys can design algorithms, better than probably anywhere else in the world. We keep winning the ACM computer science meets every year. So like basically solving all of the tough problems and algorithms. So definitely quality is very high, quantity not so much. So a Russian Inc. or a limited company cannot issue options to employees by law. We just don't have this provision in the corporate code. So unfortunately, because of that limitation, a lot of Russian companies go and register offshore in other jurisdictions. There's actually another reason for that. So it's Russians prefer to, if there's a dispute, they would rather settle their dispute in some English law jurisdiction. In English law, you can actually you're more flexible. There's more flexibility in terms of your what you can negotiate with your investor or between the partners. It's tough to do so in the Russian legal system, which is a continental legal system, just like Germany or France. So it's much more codified. But yes, I mean it's a very valid question. We've been trying to, all of these government institutions, we've been trying to lobby the government to change and pass legislation to adopt stock options. We've been doing that for the past 5 years, and I'm sure one day we'll succeed. It's usually cash. As I said, companies do give out stock options in other jurisdictions. It's much easier to start a global company, and for example, if you have a stellar VC as an investor or a stellar angel, it'd be easier to attract developers to that startup. So kind of more non-monetary motivation. So cash plus non-monetary versus cash plus stock.